welcome to anyone watching. I don't know if we've got anyone live yet. Do say hello in the chat. We'll be able to see who you are. So yeah, great. This is a first in possibly one of many, or possibly one and only, depending on how successful things are. Basically the idea is that we're going to spend about an hour, depending on how good our timing is, spend about an hour cooking a British dish for you, by way of a kind of introduction to sort of British culture and British food and cuisine, and we'll be chatting about some British things as well at the same time. You may or may not be able to tell from my voice and accent that I am British. I was born in England, although I have lived abroad for some time as well, but maybe we'll come on to that later. And Skylar, who is still wrestling with technology, is not British. He's from... Skylar, where are you from?
I'm from the United States of America.
I didn't bring my t-shirt. That's a shame. Anyway, we should say that Skylar and I live together, which is why we're allowed to stand this close and not wear masks. So this is all being filmed in a COVID secure way. So don't worry about that. Skylar, I don't know if you want to say anything else about yourself, or if we should just
just crack on.
Great. Well, today is anyone watching? Has anyone said hello?
There's
we just
people,
doing
but
this
no one has said hello.
Talking to ourselves, which is not unusual for me. No jokes. So tonight we're going to be cooking something called toad in the hole, which is a classic British dish, and it involves sausages and other stuff, and people are still trying to sort out technology. Do you need it for internet, or is it a microphone?
It's to get overhead shot.
Oh, I see. Oh, right. Oh, I see. Right. Yeah, I'm with it. Fair. That's fine. So, toad in the hole. It's a slightly funny name. I don't know if anyone knows what a toad is, but you may have come across the word frog. Which is a small animal that lives half in water, half on the land. It's called an amphibian, and a toad is is a same family of animals, but it's we've got a picture. Oh wow, this is so cool! I can see. So here, this thing in the corner of the screen is a toad. You can see what it looks like. And made famous by the Harry Potter films, if you remember, Trevor the Toad. Anyway, I should say quickly, we're not actually eating a toad. We're not cooking an animal. It's, like I said, it's a funny name that I guess comes because the dish, when it's cooked, which maybe you'll hopefully see at the end, looks something a bit like a toad, hiding in a hole in the ground, and people thought that was that's what it looks like, or it was funny, and so it got called that. I mean, I'm not sure, to be honest, I think it's the most appetizing image. I don't know if it makes me want to eat it more or less, but anyway, that's we don't have to worry about that. So we'll talk you through the recipe, and we'll be doing it and trying not to get lost and burn things, and hopefully it will be edible at the end. You need an oven for this, and so the first thing to do is to preheat your oven to 220 degrees Celsius, or 200 degrees if you've got a fan oven, which quite a lot of ovens are nowadays, or gas mark 7. I don't know, Scholars, do you have gas marks in the United States?
I don't believe so, at least I didn't have a gas mark.
Okay, so it's this funny British measure that's a certain amount of gas going into the oven to make the flame to cook it. But normally, if you see a recipe that just tells you the gas mark, then you can look up online what it converts to. Yes, so we've already heated the oven, which you may or may not be able to see in the background. Hopefully, once we sort out this overhead shot, then we'll be able to switch camera views. Is that good?
My producer is being very
Jamie, who's helping us run the tech behind the scenes, is being very particular about. Actually, we've got a camera set up in a very elaborate way above us, and it was making noise because I don't know why. And we've now sorted out the noise, but we're trying to get it back into position. And hopefully, you'll be able to switch to a picture of our hands. We're going to our hands? Jamie, could we do that? It was there just now. There we go. Right, so you can see what we're doing when we're like mixing stuff, which is like a proper professional cookery show. Great. So are we on track now? No. Maybe we could just show a shot of what the setup is. Can we switch to Sally's camera, just so people can see why we're taking so long to sort this out? Have we got that? So this is on a music stand, which is perched on this bit of wood, and the camera has to go through one of the holes, and it's in position with a fork. So these are the levels of technology that we're treating you to. Anyway, right. So we heated the oven. What time are we on? Watch. Yeah, we're already late. That's fine. So we've heated the oven. That's great. Now we need something to cook this in. So I think you can use something like this, which is like porcelain, china. But I think the best thing to use is a tin. I'm just trying to see what's it probably doesn't matter really. I've also got a smaller one, but I think from the picture it's the right size. So I should say I have kind of made this before, but I normally make mini ones where you use use one of these, like a muffin tin, and you can make lots of individual ones, which are kind of fun, but I've not actually done a big one before, so we'll see what happens. Anyway. So, and then we need some sausages, which are in the fridge scanner. So we have our tin. Great. And so, yes, I did. So we need to separate our sausages. So sausages are like a universal. I suppose they're not really, are they? You have them in the United States.
Yeah, you do, but I mean, like hot dogs are a lot more common, I would think, than sausages.
So these are quite. This is quite good quality. These are Sainsbury's Taste the Difference, which is like quite bad. But for sausages, you kind of want to go quite good because otherwise you have no idea what meat is in them. So it's basically this kind of case filled with meat and other like herbs and stuff, and they often come in a string like this. I don't know if you can see that. If we go to the front shot as well, this is a very classic picture of sausages that you get in like cartoons or whatever. So we just need to cut between them to separate them into our tin. We just lost our preview camera that shows us what you could see. Just took a dive onto the floor, but I think it's still alive. Well done, Jamie. Okay, so we've got these are called chipolatas, which I actually was doing some research last night, and you give me a funny look. That's the name of the type of sausage.
Right.
Chipolata.
Okay.
You can see there.
And what is a chipolata?
Well, it's so chipolatas are normally quite thin. So sometimes you get sausages which are like twice as thick.
Right.
But chipolatas are normally quite thin, and I think they have normally a certain mixture of like spice. Spice is like maybe a stretch, but like flavors, pepper, and I think onion. Apparently, it comes from an Italian word which means made with onion. So they used to be like used to have onion in. I don't know if they always have onion in, but anyway, they're quite tasty, and I think you often have them for like breakfast. If you're doing an English breakfast, you'd use chipolatas, or at Christmas they're quite common. So in fact, going back to the Toad and Harry Potter, I remember there's one Christmas where they stay. I think it's the third film or the third book. And it specifically mentions chipolatas because I remember not knowing at the time what they were.
I'll have to look at that.
So you have to look that up. Anyway, so we've got our oil, and can you just add a bit of? Sorry, we've got our sausages. Can you just add a bit of oil because I've got meaty hands. So just like a tablespoon, it says, which is like a normal spoon. So just a bit of a slosh.
You just want it like
just
in the center?
Just over, but not too much. Yeah, that's good. I'll just mix that a bit. So you cook the sausages quite a lot to start with, and then you add what's called a batter, which is like a milk and flour mixture, which we'll make in a minute. So, but you need actually just put a tiny bit more in the bottom.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you want quite a lot of oil sitting around to make the batter rise, and these are quite good sausages, so they probably won't have much fat in them. So just something to watch out for. If you buy cheap sausages, then they'll probably have loads of fat and you'll be fine. But anyway, we just kind of guess how much we might need. So these need to go in the oven, which is heated, and they need 15 minutes. Have you got your phone?
No,
right,
it's dangling above you.
In fact, I'll use Google. How handy is this? Right. Set a timer for 15 minutes.
Sure.
Oh, I love it. I've only started doing this quite recently and I've got quite into it. Great. So
15 minutes in the oven.
Yeah, 50 minutes in the oven. How are we doing for time? Yeah, that's right. So, we're going to start making the batter in a minute. But do you want to talk about frog noises?
No.
Remember we
talked about last night.
Yeah, we talked about last night.
Well, so see, you're the pantser. Yeah. So in different languages, people say different noises of animals, and so you say ribbit as well, right?
Yeah.
So am I supposed to ask them what sound the frog makes?
Very good. Yeah.
So please comment in if you're watching with us what sound a frog makes in your culture or language.
So this is because it's toad in the hole. I thought there's a connection with, and I think toads they're not as famous as frogs. So you might not know what a noise a toad makes, but it's probably just the same as a frog.
Yeah.
So, but a toad is similar to a frog. So in English, frog says ribbit, ribbit kind of thing. But interestingly, you may or may not realise that in different languages, people say animals make different sounds. So another example, in English, a dog says woof. But in German, I have to know, the dog says wow. Which I think it's actually the similar. They just dogs make a different variety of sounds. I think a wow is more like a wow wow, whereas a woof is more maybe like a slightly like less excited like woof. If you imagine the noises that dogs make, yeah. So you're looking at me like you've never seen a dog before.
No, I'm looking at you like, what the heck are you talking about?
I'm talking about animal sounds. But we'll see if we have some international people watching. They can tell us about animal sounds in their country. So yeah, if you're not an English speaker, or if you speak another language, and even if it's not your mother tongue, and you could tell us what noise a frog makes in that language, then we'll be very interested to hear. Great, so the next thing we need to do is make the batter, and batter is like I said, a milk and flour mixture. And so we've got a bowl, and our weighing scales. Oh, in fact, we can put that on the weighing scales. Just set that to 0. Great, and we need 140 grams of plain flour. Now, in the UK, you have to be careful when you buy flour in shops because, you get different types of flour, like for bread and stuff like that. But sort of ordinary flour, there's 2 types. Plain flour, which is just flour, and something called self-raising flour, which I think is normally blue. Like plain flour is often red, and self-raising flour is often blue. And self-raising flour has what's called raising agent. So when you make a cake or something, it means that it kind of rises and it gives it shape and volume. But we don't need that for what we're making. So make sure you just have plain flour, not self-raising flour. And we need to weigh out 140 grams. If you don't have a set of weighing scales, then there are ways to do it by volume. I think if you've got like a measuring jug.
How would you do that?
You'd look up online how many you say, like with one of these, which we'll use in a minute. It'll say like 140 grams of flour is this many
Milliliters.
milliliters, and you can work it out. Or just, I don't know, there's probably ways to kind of guess, or use a mug. Right, so.
And do you have to be exact?
No, we've got, fairly exact, I think. I went slightly over. So, I mean, probably within like 10 grams either way is probably fine. Because you think it uses eggs as well, and eggs aren't always the same size, so there's some leeway in it.
Good to know.
So we've got our flour, and what we then need to do is make a little kind of dent in the middle, or well. It's quite a big bowl and it's not very much flour, so you could use a smaller bowl. And then we need some eggs, and we need 2 eggs, and we need to crack them. Depends what your egg cracking technique is. This bowl's not got a sharp edge, so I'm going to try the knife method. This is also a slightly loose knife. Okay, try not to get any shell in. It's always the challenge. So we've got 1 egg.
And so, why do you want to put it in the center?
Well, you'll see in a minute, but basically the way we want to mix the flour in quite slowly, which helps to stop it getting lumpy, basically. So you've got kind of bits of flour in your mixture. So we're going to add milk to this as well in a minute. So it's going to be quite wet, like quite liquidy. But we want it to be smooth and not have lumps of flour. And so can you grab the whisk? And if you just very gently, again, because I need to wash my hands. If you poke them to crack the yolks, and then just very, very gently just mix it in a little circle. No, like really, really gently. Really, really gently. We've got loads of time. A bit more than that. I actually have a bin in here. Just really gently, little circles. And as you do that, you're trying to add a little bit of flour each time.
And so why do you want to do it gently?
So you only add a little bit of flour each time, and it stops it having lumps in. So
that's not slow.
Sorry, I'm doing it fast, but I'm doing it in small circles. So you can see it kind of gets really smooth on the flour, and as it's sort of, you can see it's picking up little bits of sort of flour dust. Do you see what I'm doing?
I see.
Do you want to take over?
You're probably going to take over from me again, but sure.
That's fine, yeah, well, no, I'm just got a trick up my sleeve. I'll have an electric whisk. So this is called a whisk, which is W-H-I-S-K. And when you use it, you are whisking, so it's the same. So, not to be confused with whiskey, which is a type of alcohol that you get in Scotland. So, see if we can recharge this. So while I'm doing this, can you measure out 175 millilitres of milk?
Sure.
Oh, just like that. This may... That's quite loud, so we can't talk at the same time. Now, Scarlett, I don't know if you noticed that this has got a. You see, it's got measured.
No, that's fancy.
If we're going to have a shot from over the top of this, please. You can see. Well, maybe you can't see, but this white bit around here has got the measurements. Oh yeah, you can hold it up a bit. Well, we can actually get one of the big ones. You can see that, yeah. So it's really clever. It's diagonal, so you can look. You don't have to be like staring at the side. You could look overhead and see how much milk you need, which I think is quite cool. I'm going to go back to doing this by hand because it's very noisy when when like that. So yeah, so I think our egg is fairly well mixed. Scarlett, could you just pour a little bit of the milk into the middle of that? So it got quite thick because the egg has picked up a lot of flour. So you can add a bit more. So yeah, there we go. So if we slowly add the milk to this. This is similar to if you ever made pancakes. It's the same kind of idea actually. I just realised. Or crepes if you're in France. And it's also used for a similar thing for something called Yorkshire pudding, which is quite a famous British dish. Could you just turn the sausages over? There's you can use that, and there's oven gloves over there as well. Probably how far through are we? Yeah, we've got about 5 minutes left on sausages, but it's good to turn them while they're cooking so that they don't get too cooked on one side and not the other.
These are not very good.
The
Tongs.
I'm sorry. There's another a spatula if you want one somewhere. Or you can use the spatula you had before it's on the right.
Yeah.
Or do you want to take over whiskey and I'll turn the sausages?
I can't pick it up.
Scarlett, I'm not sure if the problem is the tongs or the person who's using them. I don't have a problem with the tongs. I suppose it might be because the sausages have got oil and they're quite slippery. So maybe I'll let you off. Have we had any comments?
There's one from Simeon asking what you're cooking.
No, okay. Does he know now? It's Toad in the Hole, Simeon. If you joined us late, it's Toad in the Hole, which is not, as I said earlier, it's not an actual toad. It's pork sausages and in batter. I just realised.
Close enough.
Sorry.
Close enough.
Great. If you're a vegetarian, you could cook this with vegetarian sausages, and if you're vegan, it would probably work with plant-based milk. So you can give it a go. Right. So we've now added all our milk. But if you could see that from the top again. We've got, so it's quite, it's kind of a little bit thick, but it's kind of, if you know what double cream, which is quite a British thing as well, but if you've come across double cream, it's meant to be that kind of consistency. Actually, could you get a bit more milk? I think it's a bit, it's a little bit thick. A tiny bit more. Yeah, look. Great. Cool. Fantastic. Yeah, so that's ready. We're just waiting for the sausages to finish.
Okay.
And then we'll pour this over the top, but you'll be able to see that in a minute.
Is there anything we can do in the meantime?
Well, I was going to say we could talk a bit about British meal times.
Okay.
What do you want to know?
No, that's so. What are your British meal times? What do you say?
Well, so I think for this meal is probably something you would cook in the evening. So in Britain we tend to have. This is this. I thought the sausage was ready. We tend to have breakfast in the morning, which is a morning meal, and then a meal in the middle of the day, which is normally cold or not hot food. So sandwiches, or but people might have a hot meal if they're at home or something. But generally, it'd be like sandwiches, maybe soup, which is hot, but yeah, it's a cold meal, and because people often in the office or at school, and you take food in with you and you don't have anything to heat up, so people don't tend to go home at lunchtime for hot food. It depends if you've got like a canteen or something at your work which would serve hot food. Anyway, so normally cold meal at lunchtime, and then the evening meal would then be a hot meal, so something like potentially toad in the hole. Now the interesting thing is what meals get called, because it varies sometimes. So the morning meal is breakfast, and that's pretty much normally breakfast, no variation there. If you have it maybe at the weekend, if you have a late breakfast and it's kind of combined with lunch, so you just have one meal first thing, so I'll give them a bit longer because we had delay when we were turning them over, so it's fine. You might call it brunch, which is like breakfast and lunch joined together. But if you have a normal separate meal at midday, that'd be called lunch, except in the north of England, so where we are in Lancaster, people will call that dinner. So you have to watch out, because dinner is what people in the south call their evening meal.
Oh my, that's confusing.
It is confusing. But in the north, the evening meal is called tea.
But isn't that a hot beverage?
That's also a hot beverage that the British people are famous for. So just to recap, if you're in the south, it's breakfast, lunch, dinner, and if you're in the north, it's breakfast, dinner, tea. So if you
so do people get along in these differences?
Well, yeah, it can be confusing. I live with someone. I'm from the south of England, or middle south, and I live with someone from the north in a house where we would take it in turns to cook the evening meal, and I would sort of say, "Oh, Tom, what are you cooking for dinner, or what are you having for dinner?" And he'd, which was my kind of thing of like asking what I'm going to be eating later, because we'd be sharing that meal.
Right.
Whereas the midday meal, we'd eat our own thing. So I think he just thought I was taking interest in like his food routine. And actually I was asking about what he was going to cook in the evening. So he kind of had to, I think he was the only one in the house who had a dinner in midday, so he had to learn to translate. But you can get confused, especially if someone says, "Do you want to come around for tea?" Because that might mean they're inviting you around for a meal in the evening, or it might mean they're inviting you just round for like a drink and a chat.
Okay,
which
so
could even be like, might be coffee or something else. So you have to kind of judge from the time. If it's someone's inviting you for tea at 5 or 6 o'clock, it's probably a meal. If it's tea at like 3 o'clock or 11 o'clock in the morning, it's just like the drink. You might get a biscuit as a snack, but it would generally just be the.
Are your sausages ready?
So yeah, I think we're good to progress. So yeah. So we've got our sausages out of the oven, and they are looking nice and sizzling, yeah, there's plenty of fat in the bottom. I'm just going to make sure they're a bit loose so that they don't. It's also quite hot, so if it spits, then be careful. Right. So you can see those are nice and loose. It doesn't matter that one's broken a bit, that's fine. They're kind of fairly well spread out. Now, Skylar, what you need to do is get the bowl of batter and yeah, pour it in. Just checking down, do the right thing.
Just is there a special way?
No, just you spread it around, but just pour it in.
Is that good enough?
Yeah, that'll do. That's great. So I'll just spread it around a bit. So we now have sausages in batter.
Yummy.
If we put it back in the oven, if you open them for me. Now what we expect to see, I'll just show you here. So here we go. This will then rise to make this kind of sort of fluffy, kind of. I don't know what it's like. Well, I suppose it has a tiny bit like a pancake or a crepe, but it's not really like that at all.
I've never had it.
It's it's indescribable. So anyway, but it should be tasty. So, how are we do for time? Oh, we're not too bad. So that needs to go into the oven for about 25 to 30 minutes. So we'll take it out at 7 o'clock and see what it looks like. And in the meantime, we're going to make some gravy.
Okay.
I think that's something you were going to talk about, another event that's coming up that you're going to talk about first. We've got a video.
Yeah, do you have it?
Should we talk about something else?
You good? Yeah, alright, so check out this video talking about an event we'll be putting on this term.
What kind of world would you like to live in? We probably all have quite different answers about that.
But there are some things I think we'd all be agreed on. Of course, we want to live in a world without pain, suffering, disease, illness, sickness, and all of the many horrific things that happen in this world, and of course the coronavirus.
When we look at the world around us, we can see that it is far from that world. Instead, we see injustice, violence, disease, poverty, and suffering.
So, is this world that we all want even possible? Well, that's actually what the Bible is all about. In fact, the Bible starts and ends with a picture of that world.
The whole of the Bible is about how humanity can recapture the world that we all so desperately want to live in.
Every Friday this term, we will be running a Bible course for international students called The World We All Want. We will be looking at this big story of the Bible and God's plan for the world.
And we're going to see from there what the Bible says about the world and God's plan for it.
Anybody's welcome to come and join us, no matter your beliefs or backgrounds or where you're coming from in the world. Come and be a part of this course. It's going to be on Zoom every Friday at 1 PM. Find all of the details on Facebook or Instagram. We would love to see you there.
Awesome.
Great. So, just remind us, how's that? Is that on Zoom? How's that going?
Yeah, so until we can actually meet in person, we are meeting on a Zoom link. So if you find the Facebook event for The World We All Want on our Facebook page, you will then be sent a Zoom link. So we'll make sure it's private, no one else can join in, and yeah, so we'll all meet together on Zoom.
Private, but within a group.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, great. And that's the same Facebook page that this is being.
Exactly.
organised from.
Yep. Right from our Friends International Lancaster Facebook page.
Great. And what could people expect if they come to that? What will it look like? What will you do in the time? Is it like a lecture, or is it like a seminar class? Is it anything like uni or?
No, so definitely don't expect a lecture. We're not going to lecture at you all these things that you have to learn. Think of it as an open discussion. We'll be talking. We'll give you some questions that we kind of have thought of. We'll read a couple of passages from the Bible, kind of talk about them, discuss. Yeah, basically how we've kind of got to this world that we all agree is not great, and how we can get to that perfect world, and kind of how that looks in our different cultures and that sort of thing.
Great. And you talked about the Bible there. Mm-hmm. Is this something that people need to know anything about, or do some reading beforehand, or kind of how's that?
Yeah, that's a great question. No, so come, if you know people that are Christians, or you've never even stepped foot in a church and you've never met a Christian, yeah, you don't need to, you don't have to bring your own Bible or anything. Just show up, and yeah, we'll have material for you to read, and it's super easy to join.
Great. Fantastic. That sounds good. Great. Well, while that's cooking, we've got about 25 minutes. But the thing about British food is that I have to confess, even as a British person, it's not always massively exciting in terms of the flavour experience.
And why is that?
Well, I think it's interesting that, well, for one, spices and stuff don't, I think, naturally grow in the UK. So for a long time, before international trade and stuff like that, I think British people were living on this slightly kind of rainy, gloomy island with kind of fairly simple things that would grow there. It's not got very exciting tastes or flavours. And so I think it's partly just because that's what we had to work with. But you may have noticed if you're living in the UK, if you moved to the UK, you might have noticed this, Skylar, that you see a lot of shops or restaurants selling food from other cultures as well.
Right,
If you've seen like Indian restaurants or Chinese, Thai, Mexican, pretty much Caribbean, American food, KFC, Burger King. Quite a lot of, in fact, Skylar and I, like I said, we live together and we get takeaway every Saturday evening, which is a tradition that started during lockdown. And I think last week we had pizza, which is Italian. Before that we had Chinese from China. Have we had Indian? We talked about having Indian and we haven't had it yet.
I think we've gotten curry once.
We've got curry.
We had burritos.
Burritos Mexican. So we're making an example of this, where a lot of our exciting food is from other cultures. If you come to Britain and you're interested in trying British food and you find it quite hard to work out what's British,
so where do you go to find British food?
Well, so the best place to go would be to go to the pub, but obviously that's quite difficult. Well, going anywhere, to be honest, is a bit difficult at the moment, and it depends how comfortable you feel going eating out and and how things are with the current restrictions.
So when all this is gone,
you go to the pub. When you go to the pub, which you see, we were talking about this yesterday actually. You see pubs like all over the place. And they often have like funny names as well, which actually I've never thought about, but I suppose lots of places have funny names. But yeah, pubs, like especially kind of we're talking about old-fashioned things, like there's something called the Horse and Farrier, which is a farrier is the name of someone who makes the shoes for horses. So like the metal half ring that goes on a horse's foot is a farrier. I think that's what it is. And that's
you'll be fact checked.
Sorry,
you'll be fact checked.
Yeah, someone could look that up. What else is there? The Pendle Witch, which is like referring to kind of historic stuff in the Lancaster area. Talking about the kind of people used to think there were witches in Pendle nearby. So anyway, they have funny names, but you go there and they will probably have curry on the menu and like burgers and probably Mexican food like burritos or something. But they will also have things like shepherd's pie. So like a pie is quite standard British food, or scampi, which is like prawns in kind of bread and fried, or fish and chips. Yeah, it's quite hard to think of things. I'm struggling to think of things because we just eat food from other cultures so much.
Right. So, but a pub, there's alcohol served there, right?
Yeah,
do you have to drink the alcohol?
No. So traditionally, I mean, if you go back even like 100 years, pubs would be places where, especially men, would go and drink beer, alcohol, but it's interesting. There's been a cultural change where nowadays it's basically a place you go to meet friends, and you might drink alcohol, but you might well not as well. So if someone invites you to the pub, then
So if one of your British flatmates say, "Hey, let's go to the pub," what should you do?
Well, if you want to, if you want to go, you should say yes the first time, because in other cultures it might be polite to turn down the invitation a couple of times, and they'll ask you again, eventually you'll say yes. In the UK, if you say no, people think you don't want to go. It's just we're quite straightforward in communication in comparison to some cultures. So if you're like interested in going, then you should go. And it probably means the person's basically saying like, oh, let's like hang out together, spend time, chat, get to know each other, maybe become friends. So it's a great chance to get to know someone. If you're free and you're interested in getting to know this person, then say yes, go along.
But you don't have to drink alcohol.
You don't have to drink alcohol. pubs will serve alcohol, but also Coke and other fizzy drinks or water, or pretty much anything. And you don't have to order food either. So if you go at a meal time and you want to eat, then you can get food as well. But you can also not. Most pubs serve food, but some might just be for drinks. So, but you'll know. Ask your British friend. So
do we need to do anything now?
Yeah, so that was a very long way of talking about British food and flavour. So, I mean, the great thing about this, if you bought good sausages, that'll be really tasty. But to add some extra flavour to this dish, we're going to make some gravy.
Okay.
Gravy is, I think, a very British thing. It's basically kind of like meat sauce, or like kind of meat...
I mean, I have gravy at Thanksgiving.
Yeah, well, so it does appear in other cultures. I know in Germany they have gravy, and it's called Bratensoße, which I think is kind of roast sauce, basically is what it means. Roast is where you cook something on a high temperature in the oven. But anyway, so gravy is a British, and especially in the north of England, where at Lancaster, like gravy is very important, and it should be quite thick as well. I got a friend who's from the north of England who is always very concerned when I make gravy because it might end up really thin because I'm from the south and I don't know how to make gravy. But
So, how do we make this gravy?
so this is quite special because we're going to do, in fact, I have a whole separate recipe for onion gravy. I've not actually made this before, so we'll see what happens. It also takes like more time to cook than we actually have. We'll see. We've talked too much. So we need a frying pan. This one's quite big, but it could be smaller than this. And Skylar, could you slice an onion?
I really don't want to.
Okay, well, I'll slice an onion. Chopping boards.
You just
And then
deafened our
knife.
viewers.
Sorry?
You just deafened our viewers.
So this is an onion.
Good.
Oh, I have a really interesting fact
gosh.
actually. I've get excited pointing my knife everywhere. I've kind of given the answer away, but what is the least exported food? So export is where you send something to another country, or sell something into another country. So the least exported food, well,
It's
so
an
the
onion.
answer, it's onions. So 80% of the world's onions are eaten in the country where they're grown. Isn't that amazing?
Aren't they
most
just super
things-
easy to grow?
Well, I think they just grow everywhere, and everywhere is good at growing them. And so, if you grow something locally, it's a lot cheaper than having to get it on a plane or a lorry or a boat from another country. So, so it's not exported very much at all. And I think that's quite incredible, personally. Because you think about other things, some stuff that we get in the UK doesn't grow here at all. It's always from overseas. So,
So you're proud that you have onions.
no, I just think it's interesting. I'm sorry, Skylar, that you're not as fascinated by this this fact as I believe it deserves. But I mean, let me know in the comments if you knew that fact already. But I think it's very interesting. So
I mean, Melissa said fascinating, but I don't know what that was about. It might have been about the onions.
I think it was about the onions. What else in here? Great. Do you want to get the butter out of the fridge?
I can do that.
And you want a tablespoon, so just like a bit of a chunk or something. You grab a knife from the drawer. So I'm just slicing these onions quite thinly, because we're then going to fry them.
Guess I'm putting in the pan.
Yeah, then you can turn the heat on. Maybe not on that middle ring, on a different ring. So I think I probably don't need to do an introduction to onions, because I think most countries need to... Let's see. Hold it in. Oh yeah, that should be it. Great. So, we have our pan, and Skylar's going to put a bit of butter in. Like that, just so we can see that. Lovely. So we're going to melt that. And put this in as well.
Tasty.
Well, so the thing we're going to do here is what's called caramelize, or as you would probably say, caramelize. How would you say it, Sarah?
I'd probably say caramel or caramel.
So we're going to add some sugar. There should be a bag of sugar in there. It's not very big. It's white and orange.
Sure.
And we need a teaspoon and a half. So, this is a funny thing because it's a savoury meal, but and onions are normally a savoury food. But we add a bit of sugar and then we cook them kind of a bit. So basically what's going to happen is the onions, I think onions actually have sugar in them as well, but we're kind of going to fry them slowly and gently with this sugar, and they should kind of go brown and quite sweet and sticky, and that's what's going to give our gravy some nice flavour. To hopefully make our boring British food more interesting. So we probably should have done this while we were talking about the pub.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. I've got any other topics of conversation?
You've definitely got plenty of pictures like you. I know.
Well, Scarlett, maybe if you want to talk about what's your experience. Obviously, you're not from the UK originally.
Originally, no.
How long have you been in the UK?
Yeah, so I've just passed a year of living here in the UK. Full
Past
time.
a year, as in like gone past a year time. Not there's some test to take to stay in the UK.
No, I don't think so. No, so I've lived in the UK for a year. So yeah, I arrived back in September. I did a master's here at Lancaster University. That is just about to finish, and yeah.
Great.
So
What was your master's in?
my master's was in computer science.
Okay. And so what? So you've been living in the UK for a year.
Yep.
What was it like arriving here? What was your kind of experience?
Yeah, so I mean, I don't think I had as big of a culture shock as other people might have had. England is pretty similar to America in some ways, but obviously, you know, people in England drive on the wrong side of the road. They talk funny, you know. There's certain things that you know you get used to. Yeah. And I mean, there's some unique things about like Lancaster, and it's nice to have the castle, and I guess the biggest thing, kind of like that, is like how old everything is.
Yeah.
So like, you know, we only have like 300 years of history or whatever, and
Yeah.
you have over 1,000 years or whatever.
Yeah, so
pretty
there's quite a
crazy.
lot of buildings in Lancaster that are like older than your
Right.
country, basically.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Yeah. And what things? So apart from that, what things surprised you the most, or did you find the most interesting when you arrived? That was sort of unexpected, or just different that you noticed?
It's a good question. Yeah, I guess talking about driving, your traffic lights are different than ours. That was kind of weird. So in America, we have the hanging traffic lights, but yours are like on a pole. Your roads are normally a bit smaller than ours, especially like in town and around houses and things.
Yeah.
So even now, when people are driving, I kind of get freaked out because of how tiny the roads are.
Yeah, it's the one the challenges of the reason why it's different. I think is because Lancaster's existed as a place for probably 1,000 years or so,
Right.
and so way back when it was just people walking around,
Exactly.
and maybe a horse, but probably most people just walking around. You didn't need much width to the road because you could just walk, and then over time, it's quite hard to change a road unless you like knock down all the buildings.
True.
It needs something quite radical to.
And I mean, it works. I mean, as long as you know what to do.
But yeah, it is sort of frustrating when, especially if you live on one of the narrow streets in Lancaster, you might notice that there's cars parked on both sides and there's only space in the middle for one, and it's kind of like, it's really annoying, and a bit more space would be nice. But yeah, I think it's just what happens when you have the history and things haven't been rebuilt for any reason.
And walking into a kitchen and seeing a washing machine was weird for me.
So just explain that.
Well, so I think it comes down to, especially in America, we have bigger houses, we're more spread out, but we normally have like a dedicated room for our washing, or our laundry, as we would say.
Yeah.
So that was weird.
So you have like a laundry or utility room or something?
Yeah, we'd have like a small room.
Or is it maybe sometimes be in the bathroom?
It could be. I mean, so you most likely would have like the toilet and stuff in a separate room.
Yeah.
But
if your house wasn't big enough, it would be in the.
yeah,
It would more to be in the bathroom than in the kitchen.
It definitely would never be in the kitchen.
So
Exactly.
The problem in the UK with having it in the bathroom is that I think our building regulations mean you can't have any power outlets. So because there's water in the bathroom, and I don't know, the rules just are very, very careful about that. And so you wouldn't have anywhere to plug your washing machine in. So the bathroom would kind of make sense because it's a place where you're like washing and cleaning and stuff. But we don't have the power, so it's in the kitchen. I mean, if you big houses in the UK have utility rooms or laundry.
Right.
But yeah, it's interesting.
So how's our onions coming?
Well, I think they're doing okay, but it does take a bit of time. We can have a look. Oh, it's looking alright. I think. But if you want to move out of the way so Sally can come and get
Sure,
a shot,
Sally can get a
of the
shot.
oven. See if we can see what that looks like. So I don't know if you can see it's bubbling a tiny bit, and so it's still a little bit wet. So we've got a bit longer to go yet. It's good. The other thing we need for this is some beef stock.
Okay. And what is stock?
So stock is just water basically that's flavoured with something. So you could buy beef. In fact, there's a red packet I think somewhere in one of the bags. So little red. There you go. So you get beef stock cubes, which looks something like this, which are basically instant flavour, so you don't have to add anything yourself. I think it's probably made from beef, like cow. Beef is cow meat, so it's some process that involves cooking up the meat or the bones or something, and get the liquid and then boil it right down, and you get like a little It's a little 4 packet, and inside is if you want to open that and hold it under the camera.
It looks like chocolate.
Yeah, it's not like chocolate. It's quite salty. If you add that, it would be very salty. So what you need to do is boil the kettle, and we need half a litre. So this is something that's maybe different is a kettle.
You specifically want to have on
No, I won't spoil it how much you need, but then you will need half a litre for it at the end.
I guess that was another thing that was really weird for me, was having the electric kettle in the kitchen.
So what would you normally do in the States?
I mean, so we would have like specific coffee makers, and if you wanted tea, you would do it on the stovetop, or the hob, or you would make the great British sin of putting water in a mug and putting it in the microwave.
Yeah. So the British people are very shocked to hear and will pretend to be very angry and outraged because tea is a very important part of British cultural identity, and British people kind of play up to that even more. And also I think there's often perception that Britain is a slightly more sophisticated version of America, and often American people, because they're so kind of find it very interesting and so kind of play up to that, and that makes us feel like we're really fancy. So a way that we could like emphasise that difference is by kind of thinking about Americans, warming up like water in a microwave is just very unsophisticated and emphasises that story that we tell ourselves that we are more.
To be fair, it doesn't really get to the right temperature. Like, when you're in a pinch, it works, I guess. But, yeah. I think it also comes down to we have less power per se going through our sockets.
Yeah.
So like I have an electric kettle at home in the States, but it just takes forever.
Yeah.
So this only takes a minute or so to heat up.
Yeah. Right, I'm just going to see what's going on here. So you can see it's starting to go brown, and some of it's almost burnt, which I have to be careful. But it just takes a long time.
Okay, so what am I doing with this water?
So you then need to get a measuring jug and measure out how, you probably got the biggest one. So you measure out 500 millilitres of water into that, and then add the stock cube. And then you need to, in fact, if you want to try and break it up as you put it in, that's, you got 400, you want 500.
I thought you said okay.
Oh, maybe I said 4.
No, you said break it up as you put it in. So
no, sorry,
as in the water's not okay. Do you thing?
Yeah. Is that what you want?
Yeah, I'll take a fork. So just
You could crumble it with your hands, if your hands are clean.
I mean yes. Okay.
Or you just put it in and then stir a lot.
So you want me to crumble it with my hands
Yeah.
before throwing it in?
As you put it in. Do you want to stir the onions?
No, it's okay.
Yeah, like that, that's fine. It depends how, some of them are a bit, is that one there? Oh, okay, yeah, it's a bit harder. Sometimes they're drier than that, but...
It's not dry.
Just trying to see if that's... it might be done. Into the oven first. Sky, I'm about to get the totem hole out to see how it's looking.
Okay.
So, I think. What do you reckon, Sally? Is that?
No, it's really good for me.
Yeah. So, I'm just gonna hold this under here so you can see what it looks like. So we've got this batter. I mean, it's probably, yeah, that's fine. If it had any longer, it would be a bit too far. It could be a bit paler than that. And basically, you can see the batter's sort of risen slightly, so you've got these sausages that are kind of.
It's kind of push the sausage.
Yeah, they're actually kind of floating on top. I don't know if that's. Sometimes they end up a bit more covered than that, but yeah, that's fine. So I just put that on the side to cool a bit. And I'll turn the oven on. Okay, how's the stock doing?
You
Are you
tell
still
me.
got lumps, or are you?
Don't think so.
Great.
You can make it. You can delump it if you need to.
Yeah, it's got it. That's good. Right, so the last thing we need is a tablespoon of flour. A tablespoon is like no, it's not, is it? I can never remember. Sally, is this a tablespoon or is that a dessert spoon?
That's a tablespoon.
That's a tablespoon, great. So a tablespoon is what you'd have on the table to eat with. So it's this kind of size. You can get proper measure ones that's the like official measure of a tablespoon. But whereas a teaspoon is what you use to stir tea, and that's the smaller one. I think this is normally 15 millilitres, or it might be 5 millilitres. Is it 5 and 15? Anyway. So tablespoon. So we need a tablespoon of flour, which we're gonna. This is just to help make it a bit thicker. So if you remember, I said it's quite important to have thick gravy. I'm just gonna sprinkle that over the onion. And we'll cook this for about a minute. And then Skylar
Yep.
will come and gradually pour the stock in. Just let me see if this disappeared. So yeah, adding the flour will help to thicken it. Sometimes you use something called corn flour, which you can mix up with cold water and then pour in. But you can also use normal flour if you do it earlier like this. I think. Okay, so if you were to slowly pour in the stock, we actually want 100 mils, so you want to leave a bit behind. Yeah. Yeah, you have to leave 100 mil behind. So the only issue with stock cubes is that you get a cube which is like a certain amount of liquid, or creates a certain amount of liquid, but our recipe wants less than that maybe. So anyway,
Fair.
so this is quite, as you can probably see, it's actually quite liquidy. So I'm a bit worried that my northern friend is not going to be impressed. But we need to bring it to the boil and then boil off the water so it reduce and should go thicker. Have we had anything else in the comments?
Just Melissa criticizing me.
She's saying?
If the dish was hotter when the batter went in, it would have risen more.
Yeah, it was sizzling when we came out, but also when the dish came out. But it's quite hard when you have to show things to the camera. You lose like time and heat. Not professional TV chefs yet.
And she also said a thick baby with crying emojis, which I guess you said when we were talking about the
Thick what, sorry?
stock. A thick baby.
A thick baby.
Yeah.
What? I don't understand what that is. Now the other thing, especially if this is not going to be thick enough, but something you can use to make gravy quickly instead of stock is, because it's such an important British thing, you get this kind of instant gravy, which are gravy granules. Like a granule is like a kind of dry. It doesn't, I mean, it looks a bit like something vaguely scientific or chemical or something. But you can just add hot water to this, and it has instructions on the back. But it might also rescue us if this isn't thick enough.
That sounds like my cup of tea.
So what does that mean, Skylar?
Not exactly what the definition would be, but like that sounds like what I would do.
So yeah, a British.
That sounds like my preference.
Yeah. So my cup of tea. Maybe I think it comes from people have like their tea served in different ways. So depending on how long you brew it for, so how strong it gets, or how much milk you add, or whether you add sugar or not. So people, I think, have different preferences around tea. And so saying my cup of tea is kind of like, that's how I like it, is my preference. Yeah, it's not because this is tea, it's gravy.
How much longer do we have?
Well, so we're supposed to bring this to the boil and then turn it, which it is now, and then turn it down so it can simmer. Now simmer means, so boiling is the kind of scientific term when water is turning into a gas, water vapour. And so that's when it's got bubbles in it. Simmer is a lower heat where it's bubbling very gently, or it's only just kind of bubbling. So something a bit like this, where you've got these little bubbles around the edge. It's a simmer, technical cooking term. And yeah, so basically what we're trying to do here is not too quickly, but you can see there's steam coming off. So to boil off some of the water so that then it gets thicker as it reduces. It's called reducing. It's where you make a liquid thicker by boiling it off. But we basically just got to wait. We should have, like I said, we should have been starting this while we were talking about the pub. I suppose it's another, I think it's a challenge in all types of cooking really. And this is quite a simple meal, we've only got two things, but it's always the timing where you've got different components you've got to get ready at the same time and you want it all to be hot. This is obviously now going to be getting cold. We could put it in the oven to keep warm, but then it will cook a bit more and then it might burn. So I'm not very good at timing. So especially when I've not made this combination of things like this before. So but, yeah.
So you were saying that's supposed to be thicker.
Yeah. So it's still quite hard, just kind of show the Sally camera. It's a little bit thicker. I mean, I don't know if you can see through the steam, but yeah, it's a little bit thicker. But it's not, certainly not thick enough to stand a spoon up in, which I think is another expression. It's not, if something's really like, you might say if someone made a tea really, really strong, they left the tea bag in really too long, or something is, yeah, you say it about tea, I think. You say it's strong enough to stand a spoon up in.
Right.
The picture being like it's just so strong pattern, you put a teaspoon in and it'll just stay upright. Again, it's an expression that's not literal. I think what's the time?
12 past.
Oh right, yeah. Well, we might have to kind of to finish there. But I think we've got some more comments.
Hold on. Your
Yeah,
battery. Oh, that's what the word said. I think you. Oh gosh. That you may have said a thick gravy. Oh, because the caption, the like automatic closed captioning must have said thick baby.
Oh, I see. Right, I see. The automatic caption said baby instead of gravy.
Right. Now, when talking about thickening it up, you should just add a few gravy granules, or corn flour and water, or a bit of butter and margarine mixed with flour.
Yeah. So gravy granules is the easiest way because they're here. But if you can do it with flour, but you have to be careful it doesn't get lumps in again. So. The other thing with gravy is if you've cooked a piece of meat, so traditional English Sunday roast, which is where you cook a big piece of meat in the oven and have different vegetables with it. As you cook it, the kind of liquid comes out of the meat, and you can use some of that to make the gravy because it has more flavour. But yeah, it's not really. Do you want to? If you lift that out, you could use the chopping board actually, just to cut a bit off. If you stir the gravy, and I'll do it.
Sure.
Just get a plate. So, let's see if we just. So depending on how many people, I think this is meant to serve 4, they potentially do 6. You've got to kind of just cut through it. I might cheat. It's actually the challenge is because you shouldn't use a knife in this because it's got a special coating.
Are you laughing because it should just be popping out?
Yeah, I think this is quite an old pan actually, old dish. let's get it thickened. Okay, I'm going to use my hand because I'm going to do this one anyway. So, yeah, so you can see that's quite thick now. So, if we turn the heat off, do you want to pour some over the top? Oh, that is nice and thick. There we go. And this is some toad in the hole. It's not. You can actually have more gravy, but yeah. Now you could eat this with you wouldn't just have it by itself. In fact, I brought some. I'll show you. I brought some peas, which you can buy frozen. I took this out of the bag to bring with me, which you just boil up or something, and carrots, which you can cut into rings or sticks, depending on what you like. And again, boil those. And that'll be a very classic. Oh, that's nice actually. Classic British meal would be, what's called meat and two veg is the expression. Where you've got something with meat, normally with potatoes, but because we've got the batter, we kind of don't need that. And then just like boiled or cooked roasted vegetables would be very kind of traditional. Now, if depending on what the gravy tastes like, if you need to add some more flavour, you could do something like tomato ketchup, which people like with sausages, or something that's very British called HP sauce, which I think was originally made by a chef in the Houses of Parliament, so the place where the government does government work. I think the HP stands for House of Parliament, I'm not sure. But it's this kind of, it was a bit like ketchup, but it's quite, it's a bit fruity, and it's got quite a strong flavour, and often if you go to a pub, you'll be offered, there'll be different sauces on the table, but a brown sauce, HP sauce, and ketchup would often be the options. Some people say brown sauce and red sauce. So if you're ever you've ordered like a bacon sandwich or something, and someone says, do you want brown or red? What they mean is, do you want brown sauce or tomato ketchup?
Tim, Elspeth is asking, have you got mustard?
I don't have mustard. I actually brought with me mustard powder, which is so. I mentioned at the start. I've sometimes made this where you what do I do with those tins? Put them somewhere behind you. So you can do it. But I think it's quite fun. You do like a mini version where you cut your sausages up into little pieces and put them in the holes, and then you spread your batter between the holes, and you get these kind of mini toads in the hole. And the recipe I have for that, you put a bit of mustard powder in with the flour and the batter, which just gives it a little bit of flavour. And Coleman's is a very traditional old brand in the US. I think there's still like the original packaging. But you could have it with English mustard or French mustard as well. But yeah, I'm gonna have to try this, see what it tastes like. So I think eating on camera is not always the best idea. Okay, so. Yeah, they're quite good. Yeah, and that has passed the test. And yeah, the gravy is really nice, and you can taste the sausages are good. So it's definitely worth buying like not the cheapest sausages because they help with the flavour. But the onion gravy is working very well. So there we go. I think that's it from us. So toad in the hole. We got that. Yeah. And yeah. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for your help, Skylar.
Yeah.
And,
it was fun. I got to learn how to make this.
We might do this again, or we might not. We might do something else.
True.
Where we talk about British things. But otherwise, we'll we'll maybe see you soon. And just a reminder about the world we all want. When
Yeah,
you start.
yeah. So remind you. So
Oh,
So I'll do the video again.
okay. Yeah. So we'll do the video again.
great. Cool. Well, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you soon.
What kind of world would you like to live in? We probably all have quite different answers about that.
But there are some things I think we'd all be agreed on. Of course, we want to live in a world without pain, suffering, disease, illness, sickness, and all of the many horrific things that happen in this world, and of course the coronavirus.
But when we look at the world around us, we can see that it is far from that world. Instead, we see injustice, violence, disease, poverty, and suffering.
So, is this world that we all want even possible? Well, that's actually what the Bible is all about. In fact, the Bible starts and ends with a picture of that world.
The whole of the Bible is about how humanity can recapture the world that we all so desperately want to live in.
Every Friday this term, we will be running a Bible course for international students called The World We All Want. We will be looking at this big story of the Bible and God's plan for the world.
And we're going to see from there what the Bible says about the world and God's plan for it.
Anybody's welcome to come and join us, no matter your beliefs or backgrounds or where you're coming from in the world. Come and be a part of this course. It's going to be on Zoom every Friday at 1 p.m. Find all of the details on Facebook or Instagram. We would love to see you there.